Howdy, folks. So today we're going to be talking through a little bit of the civil rights movement. So this is Learning Area 7.2. So just kind of briefly in your mind, think about why the civil rights movement was needed. Think back to U.S. History number A and all of the various turning points in history that have led up to this, right? So, all of the various contingencies of history that have led up to this point might include Columbian Exchange, um, slavery. We had the little ice age out in Europe because of the Columbian Exchange and all those diseases. Um, fast forwarding Reconstruction, fast forwarding even more convict leasing, peonage, all of that stuff leading up to World War II, leading up to the Civil Rights Movement. Okay, so we're going to get started here. Now, our learning target here is we're analyzing the methods that made the Civil Rights Movement successful and kind of thinking through how it was limited in its success, both in kind of wider society and political gains, right? So laws, legal things that have happened because of the Civil Rights Movement. Now, the way that we're looking at this is the NAACP is kind of the legal thing that we are going to focus on a little bit more, and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, is kind of our societal gains here, right? As you can probably see from the logo, SNCC is not only a organization for African Americans. The NAACP, as hopefully you can see here from this scale, is going to be a bunch of lawyers working together for what they believe in. Now, rights, or rather our leaders here, right? And Martin Luther King Jr. is kind of the most famous of them all. He founds the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He is a pastor. He's very young, younger than I am, actually. He is a pastor, and he kind of, as with his moral authority as a pastor, asks other pastors to also use their power in order to help African Americans achieve equality. Now, a few things. MLK was incredibly unpopular. Very, very unpopular, right? 75% of Americans had a negative view of King the year he was assassinated, right? Almost 60%, almost 2/3 of Americans said that his tactics were, quote, harmful, right? Doing active harm. MLK embraced the idea of being an extremist, right? In his words, he was an extremist for causes that made sense, causes that were worthwhile. And while King had a lot of opposition, King was more confused by people who were more concerned about traffic flowing, about being able to just live their daily life and move on and not think about the situation that African Americans were in. Right? I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that African Americans' great stumbling block in his stride towards freedom is not the white citizen's counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate, who's more devoted to order than to justice, right? Who constantly say, I agree in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree in the methods of direct action, right? I like what you stand for. I wish you would do less. That idea drives King absolutely bonkers, drives him bananas, right? Because it is fairly simple to understand a member of the KKK, but it is not easy to understand someone who says, I would just like to live my life. I would not like to take part, and I would not like to support anyone who is taking part in kind of the reach for equality. Okay, so civil disobedience. This is a link here. This video, for whatever reason, is not embedded. Right, civil disobedience is breaking laws and accepting punishment in order to try and change the law, right? Showing that an unjust law and accepting the punishment for kind of showing the world what an unjust law it is. Right? Sit-ins are a very popular method here, right? This person is pouring some sort of drink onto the people at the counter. One of the ways that this is accomplished is through making sure that the media is there when you are breaking the laws, right? So thinking about movies like Selma. Okay, so separate but equal is kind of the first thing that is struck down. Brown versus Board is the court case, and then eventually the state of Arkansas is forced to integrate one of its public schools. The governor of Arkansas calls out the National Guard basically to close the school down, and President Eisenhower has to send the 101st Airborne to enforce this court's order. Right? These are guys who were jumping from planes into Nazi-occupied France a few years ago, and now they're being sent to Arkansas to uphold the law. You should watch this video. It is a good one. It kind of lays out what's going on. We will not watch it within the notes video. Okay, so the Montgomery bus boycott. This is the story of Rosa Parks. This is I hope that you have heard this before. If not, there's a nice little prequel, if you will. Right, Rosa Parks is one of a few people who use the pressure of the African American business community to desegregate buses, right? So all of these buses are making money from ridership, and if no one is riding the buses, then looks like the buses are kind of out of luck, right? So the buses desegregate. Now, Fannie Lou Hamer, Medgar Evers, right? These are folks who are organizing and registering folks to vote during Freedom Summer, which is June of 1964, registering as many voters as possible in Mississippi. So a major part of registering folks to vote is not just getting representation, is not just getting people in politics, but part of what it is getting people onto juries. Because when you are registered to vote, that is when you are also put into the jury pool. And so you remember Emmett Till and that all-white jury. His story is not unique. There are lots of other situations where an all-white jury basically lets people get away with murder. If you can get some folks on the jury, then there is the potential for justice. So getting folks registered to vote is not just a political move, it is also one that is kind of simultaneously attacking a kind of societal terror that the KKK is inflicting on African Americans. Now, legal results. Okay, so Brown versus Board of Education, I kind of mentioned that really briefly. That's in 1954. This is the court case that makes separate but equal no more. It kills the idea of separate but equal because separate is never equal. It never actually happens. And the other big result is the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Right, so this is ending all of those places that have both a water fountain for white people and a water fountain for people of color. This is outlawing all of those segregated pools, buses, places of worship, or not really places of worship. Those are still private entities. But this is ending discrimination in public places, right? Which ends up kind of accelerating desegregation quite a bit. Watch this. It's a great video. Now, Voting Rights Act of 1965. So this is the one that is, and this is still active in some parts today, where it is looking at state and local issues that are preventing African Americans from voting. Right. So your things like literacy tests. Remember that clip of Oprah being asked to name all the county judges in Alabama. right? Making that kind of thing illegal. Hopefully, you took the Louisiana literacy test as well in civics. That kind of thing was fairly commonplace. Now, the Civil Rights Act of 1968 comes in a bit later. That's another legal effect, right? This basically prohibits discrimination in buying, selling, renting a house, right? So this is basically the nail in the coffin for redlining. Redlining is no longer right. Looking at home value is allowed, but discrimination based on race, religion, national origin, sex is illegal because of the Civil Rights Act of 1968. Right. That's our housing act. So I know it sounds a little bit silly, but just saying that something is illegal does not mean that it doesn't happen, right? In order to say that someone is discriminating against you, you do need to go to court. You do need to get lawyers. You do need to provide evidence. You do need to take time off work. You do need to kind of put up with all of the stress and issues that surround bringing an action against someone else. So while it does make things better, right, all of these laws make life better. That is incontrovertible. It does not obviously end discrimination, right? The civil rights movement does not end racism, and it does not end all of the effects of racism. It is a step forward, absolutely, but it is not kind of like, oh well, I guess we can just close the book on racism in U.S. history. Number B. It does not work that way. So, finish up with this thinking question. Write it down. Make sure that you fill out the portion of your notes all the way through. And I hope you folks have a great day.